Well, look at that. Within 15, 20 minutes, we went from what looked like summer to 1.5 inches of snow. Hooray, hooray for Northern Ontario. If you haven't been here before, welcome to the channel. And if you have, well, thanks for watching and subscribing and all the good stuff. So I started the video that way because I recently had a question on an old video. One of the other guys from another channel said, "Why do you do so many 10-year-old trucks? I thought you did old cars." Well, my customers that can afford to bring me this stuff in the part of the world I live in tend to be self-employed guys and small business guys, contractors, mechanics, etc., etc. They all run trucks. They all have work trucks. A lot of them are contractors of different types and so on. So I don't do collision too much anymore, and I don't bother with modern cars a whole lot, with the exception of trucks. Trucks are valuable. They cost a lot of money, and where I live, most guys, not most guys, but a lot of guys need a truck for work, four-wheel drive reasons or whatever. So here we have another one. In this case, I thought, hey, let's do a video. I got asked the question. The short answer, if you don't want to go to the end of the video, look, we have winter. They salt the roads. They put brine. It's like this nasty liquid salty stuff all over the roads. So if you're down south, you probably wouldn't even bother fixing this. The peeling paint and stuff wouldn't really matter. It probably wouldn't rot away. You get a bit of surface rust. But where we live, the salt hits it and it pits. And then it rots. So we basically oil spray the whole bottom of our vehicles all the time for winter. Anyway, 2012 Chevy Silverado four-wheel drive truck. And customer brought it in. It was down here, the paint was peeling off at the bottom of the taillight, but up here it was starting to bubble. It was painted before, so they probably didn't have to touch that too much. It did see a set of wheel arches, and I think he said they may have fixed up the cab corners a bit. Rockers are original, and they're actually still good. When they painted the truck, you could see how they just kind of taped it around. So that was a few years ago, and basically what's happened since, the corners down here started to blister and rot. Behind these handles, they have this plastic that mimics rubber, and it's just terrible. And what happens is water gets in here. Now, keep in mind, it's not that the truck was badly built per se. There's a lot of miles on this, and I mean, look, it's 12 years old, and it takes a lot of road abuse, right? So you can see where this was really badly pitted here, and the same with the other side. The rest of it wasn't too bad, but basically we cleaned it up. We ground all the junk off it. We treated it with a rust dissolver twice. And I came in, and after we washed it off, we came in and we spot blasted it with a small sand blaster, just to get all the junk right out of it. If you sandblast, you don't necessarily have to do any treatments. We did both. I find that's a thing in Ontario. I mean, just do both. It doesn't cost that much. And I mean, I found I've had really good results with that not coming back if I do both. And then, of course, we prime it, do body work, etc. Paint was kind of peeled in the corners, so we had to put a little bit of filler in. And it's not perfect, but just enough to smooth it out. So when it's painted, put the handles back on, it'll look good. There was a crack down here in the door. Apparently they do that, so we welded it shut. What you're looking at is a little bit of fiberglass reinforced filler, because it's waterproof and it's tough and it's way down there. So we'll sand that smooth. We're just going to spot fix that. There's like a vehicle undercoating under the paint, like a gravel guard. So the texture's bumpy. So as you can see, it's shiny. And then down here, not so much. So we'll blend that out. And even if we blend the clear, that'll be fine. We'll probably bring this up and cut a line here somewhere. We're not going to worry about it. However, there's no way to hide this. So we're going to clear coat the whole door. We're going to clear coat, well, basically blend paint and then clear coat both box sides. But yeah, these trucks are valuable here. And as you know, no matter where you live right now in the world, all trucks are crazy expensive. So people are keeping them longer. And a lot of my customers actually have newer and older trucks, and they prefer their older trucks. Don't know what that says about our economy or current manufacturing, but apparently the newer the truck, not necessarily the better. Paint was coming off of this. This was starting to go here. So we're just cleaning it up. The way to think about this when it rolls into your shop, or maybe you're doing this on the side or whatever the case may be, we're not trying to turn this in to something like this. All we're doing with this, like there's a little ding up in there from whatever, we're not even going to fix that. We're not trying to make this like it was when it was new. Could you? And it happens. Sometimes a customer will bring a truck like this in and say, repaint the whole truck, make it new. And I usually talk them out of it. And I'm going to tell you why. The truck is nice. The door bottoms are nice. There's no real rust anywhere except what I've already showed you. The fenders are good. This is good. Under here is good. The front of the hood is absolutely perfect. There's a few little chips or marks, but nothing too crazy. There's no rot anywhere up above the windshield. That's a real important thing because that happens a lot where I live. I fixed a lot of roofs. So the way I go about this is I think to myself, we want to prolong it. For instance, the bottom of these fenders, they never rot down here. They rot way up here because there's a pocket that fills with dirt and junk. And then one day you get a hole way up high in your bottom of your fender. So what I do is I'll make a plate, but instead of just fixing the hole, we wrapped it right around all the way down and we came right back to this line. Now this one comes like so, comes down and across. Now on the other side, we went straight across and we had to mimic the body shape. All we used was a wooden stump and a couple of hammers to do that. Now, to get curve in our panel, we took this lip and ran it through a shrinker stretcher with shrinking dies, and we just kept working it until we had the same curve. So we're not going to try to make this look like a brand new truck. This is not a car lot. This is never going to be sold. The owner just wants stop the rust, keep it presentable. I want to get another 2 to 5 years out of it. This truck's pretty nice, right? So even when the rust does come back in 2-3 years, and maybe it won't, but even if it did, it wasn't so bad to begin with. Now, one thing we did find, and this is new, we have some bubbling right in this area here. So we're gonna grind both cab corners out tomorrow, see what the damage is, put a little bit of new steel in. And again, we'll probably come up, we'll stay, there's a little bit of a hump here, we'll stay just below that, so you won't really notice that it was blended in. We're not painting the whole truck. But if you were standing, 10, 15 feet away, I mean, I'm only about 8 feet, you're not going to see any of those repairs walking by the truck. Unless you look for them, in which case, it is what it is. Could you spend 10 grand and paint the whole truck? Sure, we're not doing that. We're spending a fraction of that. We're just doing what we have to. These base coat, clear coat trucks were meant to maintain anyways. Now, you could argue, well, why don't you just clear coat the whole fender? Well, by the time I do that fender and the other fender, the doors, you're going to end up painting the whole truck. We don't want to paint the whole truck. We don't want it in here any longer than it has to be. All we want to do is clean it up and get it out the door so we can spend our time bringing the next car in tomorrow. This is leaving tomorrow. We're going to bring in the 56 wagon. Once that's in here, that's where we want to put our time. So I just wanted to talk about that because, it's all how you think about it. What's your goal, right? Now with this car, he wants a really nice car. He wanted it to be straight with no rust, and it's going to be a driver. He had a pretty good budget, but he also realized it would take a lot of work even to get it to a driver. So this is probably Not a high-end restoration, and it's way better than what most people would call a driver. The whole bottom of the car was painted black and just cleaned up. We didn't go too crazy with it, but it's nice. There's no rust anywhere. We rebuilt the trunk lid. We straightened out the quarters. Again, a nice presentable driver, and it's going to be a little bit better than a lot of the drivers out there. That's exactly what we've got here. You can see that everything has been cleaned up and blacked out, and it's nice. All we want to do with this is make it last long and not look hideous. So the thought process with this is buying time. Make the patch a little bigger, takes longer to rust through. We use the rust dissolver and the sandblaster and the primer, epoxy primer, or whatever you want to use. I like epoxy. The reason I do that, it's like 3 stages, right? The epoxy makes it so that whatever rust is there can't breathe, hence it can't oxidize and keep rusting. The sandblasting takes most of the junk out. Everybody knows that. Sanding it before doing that and putting the rust dissolver on is going to convert it, neutralize it, and eat the rust out. Well, we've done 3 things there to stop that rust. And whenever I've done this, they don't come back. That's why I probably don't have to do the rust dissolver. Or maybe I can do that and not sandblast or whatever. But the truth is, I do those 3 steps that don't come back. Now, if this was a show truck, we'd probably sandblast all this junk out. We didn't even bother with that. I am going to come in here and sand this junk out a little bit with a Roloc. And we're just going to spray this with Duplicolor Rust Fix. Not quite as good as this stuff. This is all solid. It ain't rotten. By the time that goes bad, 5-10 years, the truck will be toast. That's just the reality. So all we're going to do is put some of that stuff on here, the Rust Fix in a can. It'll turn black. And then we're going to take our undercoating oil, which is used to undercoat these vehicles up here, and we're going to goop all this up before we put the tail lights back in. And honestly, it'll probably last longer than the rest of the truck. So why do I do these 10-year-old trucks all the time in the background? Well, there's a little money in it, but it's a favor. I'm just trying to help guys out and keep their trucks alive and half decent until they decide to replace them. And I mean, look, they'll run these right into the ground till there's nothing left. And I know, like, if you're in Texas, this would seem weird to you, maybe, or maybe not. But, if you're in Minnesota, well, you guys probably get the snow and the salt and the junk that we do in Ontario, Canada. And I'm sure you guys are fixing up these trucks too, because, hey, everything is so expensive now. Anyway, to the guys south of the border, happy Thanksgiving. Have a great weekend. And we'll do some more videos next week. Thanks for watching.